Okay, I have some wool roving here, and we have a soap, and we're gonna wrap the soap with the wool roving, and then we're gonna felt it. So we don't need all this like long piece of wool here, so we're gonna take off a section of it. And when we take off a section, we don't cut it because the edges will be very severe and they won't blend into, like when you're wrapping it, they're not going to blend into each other and you'll be stuck with a very lumpy felted bar of soap. So we're going to go ahead and pull this. This is how we separate it. We don't use a knife, we just use force. Kind of. This is a very thick in some places, so I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit and try to make it overall even. And I have a friend who dyed this wool for me, so it's kind of special. And then we're going to just see if we're going to wrap this as tight as we can. Folding it over on the edges, sort of like wrapping a present, as I say. Then we're gonna just roll it over some more. And roll it over again. And see, it's nice and wrapped tightly. We're gonna take a little knee-high stocking. Put your hand in there. It can have a hole, it's fine. Repurpose stockings, and I'm just going to grab it and invert the stocking, and then we'll felt it, and I'll set it aside and I'll do a couple more and I'll show you how we do felting. Kind of like you're wrapping a present. And just roll it tightly. Okay, so I've wrapped it into a nice little bar, and then I'm going to stuff it into a little stocking. This is like a stocking. So I'm just going to grab my bar with my hand in there and cover it up like so. Okay, now we're going to start the felting. I have a sink full of cold water here, and I have a bin of hot water on this side over here. And the way that you get you're able to felt wool is like friction and then a lot of temperature changes. So I start by just, you can do this too, putting it in, getting it wet, being very gentle, squeezing in the water, just kind of massaging it. Getting it wet, and just start gently rubbing it with the stocking on. I'm going to go ahead and dunk it in the hot water. Still just rubbing, causing some friction. And we're going to do this for about 8 to 10 minutes. So I'll probably put on some cheesy music and fast forward it. Now we're going to start needle felting. I've given these a chance to dry, so once they're dry you can go ahead and needle felt. We're going to do a little design like this on the white one, and we're going to try to do a little face on this one with eyes. Now when you're doing this, what I like to, you have to be creative first of all, because like I just use these stencils that my children have, like, and there's like these little wheels on the train and the car, and that's what I'm going to use for like to do the circles for the eyeballs. So sometimes you need to think outside the box. I have this this ship right here that I've used on, and you'll see a picture of this one in one of the photos. You just like put it on your felted soap, and you just start needle felting, which I will show you in just a sec. So this is what I have for my felting needles. I got these on Amazon, and each one of these is a different size, and they're different thicknesses, and I just use the biggest one for fast felting. So it's not really detailed, or you can do detail, but it's just, the faster felting is better for me. So I got my needle. Some people like to wear thimbles, but I don't. Just be careful. So I'm going to determine which size I want for my eyeball. I think I'm going to go with this small size here. I'm going to put a white background, so I'm going to get a little bit of white wool. Oh, and I want to show you too, this is like the wool that I get, well, one of the wools that I have gotten off of Amazon. You can probably get it at a local like fabric store too. So I'm just gonna, I think I'll put the eyes right, one of the eyes right here using this hole, and I'm just gonna stick it in there. I'm just gonna start poking. And you're just going to keep poking until you get all the felt in there. I don't know why, it always reminds me of like voodoo dolls. And I wince whenever I'm poking them in the eyeball. Not that I know anything about that. I mean, except from like the Indiana Jones movie I watched years ago. So I'm just sort of stabbing the wool right into the soap. Just poking, poking, poking. Stab, stab, stab. Being careful of my digits, also known as fingers. Okay, and I kind of have the first eye done. I've taken off the stencil thing. I'm just poking it around on the edges a little bit more just to make sure that it's fully felted. Let's give them a little comb over. So now I'll do another white of the eye, because we need two eyes. So we have the two whites of the eyes. Now we need pupils. So what I'm going to do for the pupils is I have this little, I stole it from my son's Legos. It's some sort of Lego, but it's like the perfect size little holes there. So I'm going to put that on the eye, the white of the eye, and just start jabbing him in the eyeball. have the eyeballs. Now I'm just going to do a bit of a mouth. I'm just going to take a little bit piece of red felt and just put it kind of where I want it to go. And I'm just going to start poking it, the red, into the wool, trying to make as thin of a line as possible. And again, if it's not perfect, that's fine. I actually find the ones that are slightly floppy actually make them really cute. There, so we have our first little guy. Looks like he's wearing a bandana hat or something. Okay, so now that's that one. Now we're going to work on a flower. First, I'm going to start off by making a little vine or green stem. And it's just putting like this green in a thin line and just kind of poking it into the white part as thin as you can, or as thick as you want. There's no right way to make a flower. As it gets to the bottom, I'm just going to kind of bunch it up a bit. Do a few little grass pieces coming off the bottom. So I have kind of the base of my flower that I want to do of lupins actually, so we're going to try to make this one a little bit like that. And again, just using what I have available, I'm going to be using this little indicator right here, that little hole. It's kind of the shape of a petal, like a flat egg or flat oval, so we're going to use that. And we're going to just kind of face it pointing upwards a little bit. I'm going to get my purple wool. Just going to get like a little piece of purple. A little goes a long way. Just going to kind of shove as much of it as I can in that little hole. Being very careful of my finger, of course. I'm just going to stab this thing, poke it, poke it, poke it. And there I have my first petal, which kind of isn't even touching the stem, which is really, it's kind of okay. But I'm just going to put a little bit to make it touch the green stem.